This one again, once again, is Tony the TGR, and in this issue of my mini sub-series, I'm doing a presentation that I call a theory of modern obesity. And in this, I'd like to explore the cause-effect relationships between weight gain and other health concerns as they pertain to many loved ones that I know today. Um, Again, this is mostly to provide a new perspective on the issues. I wish I had more of a solution behind it, but it's to open the door for conversation and to at least illustrate a new perspective on the concern. So let's start by establishing the existing presumptions of weight gain and the consequences of them. People believe that you get fat by overconsuming. You start off being unhealthy in your dietary choices. You start off being emotionally damaged, and then you're eating to compensate for these bad emotions, to fill that void within you with physical food. There's a belief that these people are lazy and sedentary and have no energy at all. And if you've ever heard the talkability or sense of humor, you'd know that's straight bullshit. That they are like resistant to exercise regimens or getting help, that they are naturally bad at money management, or that they're antisocial in nature first, and then they gain weight living an antisocial lifestyle. And a lot of people believe the consequences of being fat include physical damage and injury to their legs, knees, their ankles, and their lower backs, the development of obstructive sleep apnea and other sleep disorders, lots of things with high and low blood pressure and blood sugar, along with balance problems of just being a top heavy person, that they're just inherently clumsy because they're top heavy. Now I'd like to go about, what if the shoe were on the other foot? What if we're looking at this completely wrong and backwards, and that's why we're not getting anywhere in our treatment of these individuals and their problems? I've known a few heavy people in my life, and of the people I know, generally speaking, they endure a physical injury first. Sometimes this is like a car accident. Sometimes this is a very hard, fall or a major blunt impact to a sensitive part of their body. And what do you do when you have that kind of physical injury? Well, the first thing you're supposed to do is you're supposed to rest the injury. You're supposed to cushion it. You're supposed to, if your leg hurts, you raise your leg. You don't keep standing on it. The physical body requires a lot of nutrition, a lot of components in order to begin the healing process. It takes a lot of white blood cells. It takes a lot to sew together these injuries or to build increased fat and muscle tissue around them in order to compensate them in the event that the body itself can't simply heal them. And then the other consequence of this physical injury, if they go to a hospital or some medical professional, is that this treatment has huge financial implications. Like, their medical expenses are through the roof. If they have a deductible, a lot of times their deductible is completely spent on these injuries. Your insurance company and the terms thereof determine a huge part of how much this costs you. Second part is physical recovery is very difficult. Impact exercise on a physical injury that's not healed will still exacerbate, or it will re-injure that injury. Lower back strength in particular is essential to core exercise, safe lifting, any exercise you do laying on your back, any exercise you do supporting your weight. You have to have lower back strength and stability, and if that's the location of your physical injury, you will reach a physiological shutdown point where your body cannot continue to do that. This increased rest to the injury gives these people a homeostasis where they spend a lot more time on their back or on their side or in some kind of supportive position rather than an upright position. See, you and I sit upright, we stand upright, we function upright. We have a balance equilibrium of being upright. But when your balance equilibrium is different than being upright, then when you are upright, you already feel off balance. It requires a fundamental internal adjustment that takes time and a lot of unlearning and relearning and reprogramming for some of these people to even get upright position as a functional, normal place to be. Finally, when you do go for diet, exercise advice, a nutritionist, a personal trainer, this is still another gigantic expense that factors into the equation, which again gives this impression that they're terrible at managing their money when all they're doing when they're trying to help themselves is spending it the way they're supposed to. Your body will make maladaptive growth if it can't heal. Injured bones and joints are compensated with additional muscle and fat for support. Back injuries will frequently be reinforced by creating trunk fat so that when they're in upright positions, all that upper body weight isn't supported entirely on an injured back. Your feet flatten and swell up, partly due to these blood sugar, blood pressure issues, but also they do it to compensate for balance issues. It's way harder to fall on a flat when your feet are flat than it is when your feet are like more rounded or more natural shaped. And all this maladaptation has its own set of consequences. Like a thickening trunk will affect your diaphragm. It'll affect your digestive system. Your heart will have to pump twice as hard to get half as much circulation through the body. So now you either have high blood pressure or low blood circulation. Your breathing difficulty that comes from your diaphragm impairment or from your sleep apnea impacts your oxygen supply to both your brain and your heart. So now you're working twice as hard just to maintain the same net effect as a healthy person. And it comes with its own set of consequences too. If your blood is pumping through your veins twice as hard, you're going to get like a friction burn inside of your veins, and that's going to result in inflammation. What do you see when you see blood pressure inflammation concerns? That's like your pre-diabetic condition right there. But all as a consequence of the body's maladaptation to these injuries, not necessarily because these people are overindulgent or lazy or don't know how to manage their money or their energy. So yeah, my main critique right now is that most modern takes on weight loss and weight management, they always focus exclusively on diet and exercise, while still doing nothing to compensate for the underlying physical injuries or damage in their body or the consequence that those have on the rest of the body. We do nothing about the injury. We just expect them to eat differently and work out, and it just works, while we do nothing to support the deficits in the body that they're facing as an obstruction to doing that work. Or we just throw them painkillers or tell them to tough it through the pain. Like, even though that pain is a signal, and that signal is the fact that you are still continuing to injure an injured body, not necessarily just quitting because they're a wimp. They say that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again while expecting a different result. You continue to do what's already done, and you'll continue to win what's already won. So the questions that I'd like to bring up in the exploration of this alternative perspective of weight loss and weight management is this. What can we do to add physical support for the injured body first? What can we do for patients and people as a whole to reverse the maladaptive processes that the body uses to compensate for these physical injuries? A recent study I've heard shows that 80% of vagus nerve traffic, that's the brain to body highway through your spine, is body to mind. So I believe that if we fix the body first, the mind and emotions will naturally follow. Because you do get mental health and disease and depression over hitting this wall of a way you're supposed to do things and it doesn't work and you don't know why. And I don't think they're doing necessarily anything wrong unless they really are overindulgent in nature first. But I'd say probably 75% of cases, there's a physiological cause first, and everything else is consequential. With this in mind, what do we expect these individuals to be capable of for themselves, and how do we help get them there? And then finally, in the process of making more sustainable physical support to these people, how can we keep the costs of these medical expenses and equipment and support from making them go broke? How can we give them insurance terms or some roadmap that doesn't heal the body only to wreck their pocketbook and they're not any better off than they were in their physical injured state? Again, I wish I had answers, but all I can really offer in this presentation is a new perspective at the problem and an avenue for discussion, and hope that we will actually reach in that direction. Thank you again for joining me. This is Tony the TGR. If this video is important, feel free to give it a like, share it, leave a comment, contribute to the discussion here. That said, this is a complete departure of my usual channel content, so I would not subscribe to my channel on the premise that videos like this will continue to be like the normal of what's being featured. This is just some societal issues that I finally have some time to address, and I feel is very important to add a new perspective into. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you have a great day.